Right. We are recording. Now, you've all hopefully seen and thoroughly digested the document we sent round. And I want to open up just by explaining how this came to be and what the committee's position is on it. I'm not going to go through the document line by line because you've all had a chance to read it, but hopefully maybe a little background and context could be useful. We've maintained reasonably open channels with the OCA since we spoke to them 5 years ago, originally about a merger. But the catalyst for the conversation this time was the fact that we had 6 clubs expressing an interest in joining the CCL for 2021. Now, 6 clubs is between 12 and 14 teams. And that would mean some significant reconstruction of the Cherwell League, particularly from Division 5 down, if they all came in. Now, of course, these teams need to be elected by the membership at an AGM, but as far as the league is concerned, providing teams meet the criteria for entry, and in this case, all 6 of them do, we're committed to the best possible standard we can achieve within the league, and so we would have been recommending their acceptance. Now, clearly, bringing in 12 teams is a bit of a nuisance, but it's an administrative and short-term issue. But it's not a huge stretch to assume that we might be faced with the same issue every year for a number of years as more and more clubs decide they want to come across. This then becomes persistently unsettling for our clubs. It's also a difficult situation, a very difficult situation for the OCA, because they effectively could be in a position where they're dying a death of 1,000 cuts, losing 4 teams a year, moving across to the Cherwell League. On a more strategic level, however, it makes sense to assume that cricket in Oxfordshire and surrounding will be much better served by a larger, more robust structure, and one that gives us the opportunity to address probably the biggest identified problem in recreational cricket, which is journey time. Now, as I said earlier, I don't want to spend time going over what we've already presented in the document, but before we open this up for discussion, I just want to say a word or two about the committee position on the proposals we have in front of you. So all the ideas in that document are based on the experience of the people on the subcommittee, of course, but more particularly the feedback that we've had both in recent weeks and over a more extended period of time over the last few seasons, talking to players, administrators, and people that are involved with clubs throughout the league. Now, to make a meeting like this of any use, we've got to have some sort of fixed point to work from, and that's the intention of this document. We believe it's an accurate representation of what we've learned from people and what we've been told, but we are not here to sell it to you or defend it against suggestion or comment. Certainly not from a structural or philosophical point of view. There may be issues which are more technical with regard to running the league, and we might defend something within the document from that point of view. That's purely about administration, not about our philosophical ideas about how the league should go forward. The meeting tonight and the one that we had last night are an important part of the consultation process. What we're looking to get is guidance and parameters from the membership to take this forward to conversation with the OCA, if indeed there is a will to go forward. Nothing is in stone. This is not something you need to fight, or otherwise this is something we want to get your feedback on. And with that, I'm happy to open it up from there to comments, questions. If there's anything you're unsure about, anything you want clarification on, any suggestions you want to put to us, now's the time. And if you're all too shy to start, which I rather suspect won't be the case, I'll prompt you in with some topics if you like, but I'm sure you've all had a chance to read the document. If there's anything you'd like to clarify or would like us to clarify now, let's go ahead. Who would like to start? No, good. Okay, well, thanks for coming. And
yeah. May I start?
Indeed. Who's I?
It's Tim Gush.
Yes, please do.
After our meeting with our committee, a couple of points came out, and one of them was strongly suggested that I mentioned tonight was the grounds themselves and how we can improve grounds on all standards. Would there be for example, a subcommittee on the Chilwell League which could handle that? Is there an overseer on grounds which would suggest and help people who need help to improve their situation?
The short answer is yes. Um, we we already have on our committee Jim Howe, and whose principal area is grounds and ground, in particular pitch and pitch standards. The OCA have a couple of people as well. The final makeup of the committee, as it would look if we went forward, is still fluid. But the intention is that with the extra people that we would have available, we hope to bring some people in from the OCA onto the committee. We would be setting up a number of subcommittees to deal with different areas. Now, already, Jim and Owen Lewis, who's his counterpart on the OCA, are working on, and I think Gary, and I'll refer to Gary in a moment on this as well, but are working on a tiered structure of what the required ground standards would be for each level of the new structure of the league. Now, as it happens, and we can't speak authoritatively about this, clearly we haven't gone around all OCA grounds, but the OCA and Jim have been working together in terms of what sort of standards they want to bring together, or they want to put together for different levels of cricket. So we're very much aligned on what we expect at different levels. And you'll actually find that some of the lower levels, some of the OCA requirements are a little more stringent than ours are. But there would be a harmonisation process, and yes, there would be a subcommittee, and yes, they would be available to help clubs who wanted help, either by way of advice, by way of someone coming along and having a look and trying to help them out a bit. So yes, that would be in place.
Thank you. But would there also be any financial help in any way, even if it's a interest-free loan type of effect?
Well, we already do interest-free loans, and there's no reason why they would change. We'd actually have more capital, obviously, if we brought the OCA on board anyway. So we have no expectation that wouldn't continue. So we already do interest loans. I know there's a few clubs on tonight who've benefited from that for various pieces of equipment. So that will continue. And as Ian said, some of the lower ground standards requirements in the OCA, such as covers and sight screens on all grounds, are actually slightly more stringent than ours, or perhaps slightly more rigorously applied. And our intention is that there will be tiers that you are allowed to progress to, given the current condition of your facilities and ground, and obviously will help you improve those things so that you can progress further. Having said that, we wouldn't be expecting to move anybody down based on where they are if we invented new standards that they weren't able to meet. And that's always been the case in the past. We haven't moved people down, but we are prepared to say you need to do this to move up, and that will continue.
We've also had discussions with the OCA around a league with 170 teams in that would have significant buying power, and we've discussed around speaking to equipment manufacturers to see if we can get discounts on things like sight screens and covers for like a central purchase in place.
Thank you. That's good answers. Thank you very much.
Okay. Rupert, you need to unmute yourself.
Now, Ian, first of all, we've had discussion with Oxford Cricket Club and quite like the idea broadly. One of the main concerns would be the fact that the tier system, and there's a ceiling to where home counties clubs second team could aspire to. We certainly don't like that one, and I would be absolutely amazed if any other home counties club would actually like that one as well. I just think if Oxford at the moment is not strong enough, our second team, to actually get into Division 1, but there's other counties clubs who have got very, very strong pool of players and could actually get into that on merit. And I don't see why there should be a ceiling to where they could be promoted to and could play the highest level. That certainly can't be right.
Sure.
We don't think it's right.
I'll kick this over to Dave Warner.
Yeah, Rupert, we from our, so this is a consultation period where we've got everybody together, but from our initial consultation period when we spoke to clubs one-to-one, we got that feedback and we've taken that out of the proposal.
Since when?
I don't think it's in the proposal that Ian sent round. Is that correct?
In the document that we sent
Yeah.
around, it's A not in it, and the B is there is a comment on it that says we've taken it out. We, having discussed it, we felt that it was not something that was specifically relevant to joining with the OCA. So if people want to talk about it as a separate issue, they can do, but it will not be an integral part of this proposal. So definitely will be allowed to progress as far as they're capable.
Yeah, so we, in our discussions with the OCA, they want to feel that they are wanted into the Chilwell League, and therefore we would like this vote to go unanimously, and that was one of the sticking points for the home counties clubs. So we took it off the table because it would be seen to the OCA to be better if every Chilwell League club was on board, or 95% of them were on board, instead of we only need 26 to get this over the line. So we want to make them feel welcome.
Does that answer your question?
I don't know how to do this waving thing, so I'm physically waving.
Okay, Simon, we see you. Carry on.
Just to cut to the two questions I thought you were asking us to vote on. We, Kingston Bagpues, are very keen on the idea of the merger, for want of a better word. But it does slightly hinge on the structure. And the way you've structured the vote is we have to say yes to the first part and then hear the debate about the structure and the decision afterwards. And we wanted to sort of reserve our agreement to the merger on the outcome of the structure, because for a small club like us, the nature of the structure is quite important, actually. Okay,
there's no intention in the order of voting to try and back anyone into a corner. They are just two separate things that we wanted to get feedback on. So, but this is a good opportunity to discuss what you would like to see in the structure, and we've given you two options there. That they are not exhaustive options necessarily. Those are the two most, I hesitate to say sensible. Those are the two options that we came up with that we felt best served the purposes of this reconstruction, which was to get regionalisation and competitive cricket.
And just to put our cards on the table, we're very much in favour of the original structure, I think you called it in your paper, rather than the alternative proposal.
Okay.
And I can give you the reasons why, if you like.
By all means.
As you put in your paper, that structure offers a real incentive to smaller, especially smaller aspirational clubs. I think it will also help potentially with the two divisions at tier 2 and 3 with travel times. I know you haven't said those would be regionalised, but presumably the standard across the two divisions would be as matched as possible, and therefore you could do something about travel times if necessary. I don't think, or we didn't think, it would really dilute standards, as the argument for the alternative structure is, because put it like this: is there really that much difference now between 8th in Division 2 and 3rd in Division 3, i.e., the ones that don't move? Our feeling was that there probably isn't, and therefore we don't think it would dilute standards.
You could turn that around, and is there much difference between 3rd in Division 2 and 8th in Division 3?
Or
yes.
you could also say, is there much difference between 9th in Division 1 and 2nd in Division 4, who could be playing each other the next season?
That is, to me, that's the nature of promotion and relegation, isn't it? To some extent, yes. 9th in Division 1 could well be quite a strong team. But my last point was, we have to think about the OCA clubs too, and it seems that to me that flatter structure might be more appealing and fairer to them as well. Anyway, that's how our committee felt. So I just thought.
And we're trying to remain neutral, but put all the arguments. The plan at the moment is that OCA clubs would come in at the equivalent of our Division 5 and below, based on their current strength.
Yeah, I appreciate that, but what I'm saying is a flatter structure gives them, I don't know what the right word is, hope, aspiration, a target.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Rather than feeling, and that applies to smaller clubs that are already in the Java League, I think.
Yeah, and it
like
is.
Us.
It is the one that's caused the most debate amongst the committee, and we're remaining neutral on that one at the moment. The interesting debate is we're talking about 20 teams out of a total of 175 at the moment.
Mm. Yes, I know that, but it is that point, isn't it? That is the pinch point. I will now mute myself.
John.
I was only going to say on that point, you must have made an assessment, I don't know whether you're prepared to share it or not, on the strength of, let's say, 10 OCA teams. I mean, by definition in the past, they've only been able to come in if they've been, formally if they won the league, or more recently if they were obviously a strong side. So I'm just wondering, if we, got 10 teams in at Division 3A and 3B, are you confident that all 10 teams would be able to, I'm not saying win the league or wouldn't necessarily go down, but would be able to compete? What we don't want, I think, is to see 2 or 3 teams shoved in who clearly just aren't up to standard. So, what is your view on the best 10 teams?
The current structure, Dave, probably the best guy to answer that.
Yeah. So in the structure where we've got Division 1, Tier 2, Tier 3, that's 2A, 2B, 3A, 3B. We were looking at top five OCA sides in Tier 3. So it would be the top 5 Division 5 sides in Tier 3. Plus the 10 from, or maybe 9 from Division 4, depending on who's playing. So it might be the top 6 from Division 5. 9 from Division 4 and 5 from the OCA Division 1. So we put a proposal to the OCA in that structure where we had roughly it was 5 OCA sides in Tier 3, and then it was roughly split even. It's sort of it's not quite 50-50 all the way down to the bottom, because of the way that they have leagues of 8 and we have leagues of 10, divisions of 8 and divisions of 10. So the split was slightly different, not quite even all the way down to the bottom. Where we were looking at the bottom tier would be Division 10 sides plus the bottom 2.5 divisions of the OCA, roughly.
So you're confident then, for example, that if there were 15 OCA teams in Tier 4, that there'd be 15 strong enough to compete at that level?
Yeah, so we were looking at 5 from 5, 10 from 6, and 15 from the OCA, so that'd be 1 and 2 for their league. So, and this comes from our previous experience. So we brought Ensham in a couple of seasons ago from Division 2 of the OCA, and they went into Division 6. So they've remained in that division. Initially, they were in the lower half of the league in the first season. Second season, they were in the top half of the league. Probably they were adjusting to the different formats we play, because the win-lose draw is a little bit different to the straight win-lose on how you manage the game. But as they grow, they're getting better as a side. So we don't necessarily see there's a great deal of difference in playing strength between the OCA 2 and Division 6.
Okay, I think we're in your hands to some extent, but you've sort of provided a good answer. I just didn't want any teams to be put in just for the sake of window dressing. Really.
No. So we would work with the OCA on where teams went. We have a format where we would apply for where the Chilwell League sides went. Now the OCA might want to fiddle around with people who are on the periphery of each tier, but we bow to their better judgment and knowledge of their clubs rather than us dictating. But we think the natural split would with a tier system from 4 down.
Okay.
What we do at the top, that's open to interpretation on discussion, because everybody has a different opinion, and it is depending on where you play in the league. I think that what we've seen so far is players who play in the top half of the league would like it 1, 2, 3. Players who play in the middle would like it 2A, 2B, 3A, 3B. People who play in the bottom, they don't really have an opinion, and they don't really care too much what goes on the top of the league. They're playing for recreational cricket. There's because we have, we're looking at such a large spectrum of ability from top to bottom in the Chilwell League. Everybody's got a different opinion of how they fit into that league structure.
Roger, sorry.
I'm done.
I've got Roger. Oh, thanks. Roger, you were way there.
I was gonna say that having been involved in the formation of the Premier League in the days, there was a lot of arguments about where everybody should go. It very quickly sorted itself out through people playing cricket. At the end of the day, this is what it's all about, and the league structures and the divisional members changed quite quickly, and it was all sorted out in a season and a bit, really. I think it's fair to say. So much as it's worrying for any one club for any one season, strongly suggested if the committee puts some effort into making sure the fixtures are reasonably fair, it will sort itself out. And 5 years down the line, nobody will remember who was struggling and why.
I think we fully accept that we'll make some mistakes, and there will be some teams, and not just because of where they're necessarily ranked within the OCA or within the CCL. We all know, we're all involved with clubs, we all know that the individual circumstances of our club in any given year can have a much greater bearing on how we fare than historical form would suggest. So we accept that there's going to be some errors, and we're looking at potentially a little bit more flexibility, because I think we're more likely to make errors in the bottom 4 tiers. I think with the top tiers, we know the clubs quite well. We know that there's going to be a reasonably competitive level of cricket there. In the bottom 4 tiers, one of the suggestions that's been put forward is that we perhaps increase the number of teams to be relegated and promoted in order to allow for a natural remedy, rather than the committee coming in at the end of the year and saying, well, they finished 4th, but we think they're a better side, we should put them up, because no one's going to enjoy that. But as you said, we're fully expecting, because of the broader tier, where you've got a broader spectrum of ability, that teams will sort out and find their level very much quicker than perhaps if you went in a straight linear 15 division setup. You've got someone in 13 who ought to be in 9. They've got 4 years of trying to work their way through, whereas you can effectively jump 3 linear divisions in one season because of the 30 teams across the tiers. So yeah, we get it, and we would hope that teams would not come back 4 weeks into the season and say, we've won all our games by 100 runs, this is rubbish. It will take a year. It might take 2 seasons, but very quickly teams will find their level. I've only got 25 people on my screen, so I'm just going to flick to the other screen and see if anyone else is waving at me. Oh, Adi, you're here. Good. Any more?
Sorry, what was that?
I was just saying hello because the last time I looked, you weren't there.
No. As far as Buckingham Town concerned, we felt that it needed to be a linear structure in the first 3 divisions. So the top 30 teams were playing, had the opportunity to play against each other rather than have 2A and 2B. So 3, 2 and 1. That was something that they're very keen on, rather not have a spread out tier system quite so early on. But
okay.
As we discussed, Ian, that was not when we spoke on the phone, so we're very much along with that.
Sure. Simon.
Yeah, the leagues, or we in that Division 2 and Division 3 that could occur with the splitting of the Division 2 and 3, which would be in the original proposal. So, we can honestly think that it's not done from a favouring our own personal view, because probably the seconds, which most of us are party of, will be part to the more divisionalised or regionalised at the bottom. So that's just how we felt.
Great. John.